Hello everyone, we are live coming at you from Bat City Comic Professionals. It's Sunday, which means it is time to wind down your weekend. We're going to talk about some of our favorite books of the week. As always, I am Shann, aka Small Press Shann, here with my buddy and co-host Wednesday Phil. What's up, Phil?
Hello. How's it going?
I'm going well for me.
Yes. Been a good week?
Yeah, it has. It was a really cool week. There was a lot of random books, honestly, like some new number ones, some like continuing things, but it's just been like the start of summer, so a lot of new people coming into the shop and just getting excited about books that they've never heard of before, which is always my favorite thing, is people coming in going, I've never read comic books before. Tell me the ways. And getting people into comics, or having people who have always been big too coming in and saying, like, what's some indie stuff if I wanted to try something different. And being that it was a Marvel Fortnite week for comics, which we do not have anymore before we even get there, it was a great week to see kids coming in excited about comic books, which was fantastic.
Now, did you see any kids come in for that comic specifically and then also kind of perused and found other things they were into?
There was a couple of kids who did pick up some other things. A lot of them, brought their own money, so they only got the one.
Right.
Because they could only do it. But there were a couple of kids who, maybe even their siblings came with them, and siblings got to pick something. There were a couple of kids who got books to go with their Fortnite. And then there are some kids who, once the Fortnite was sold out, they still were like, well, can I get something else since we're already here, and picked a book. So it's super cool to see kids getting excited about reading. So thanks, Fortnite, for partnering up with Marvel and DC, because it worked the same with the DC book last time. So
yeah, I remember the DC one being very popular.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Marvel's doing it. I mean, it makes sense. There's so much money in Fortnite and video games right now. So I kind of hope it's the beginning of more of that crossover.
Yeah. What's up with you this week? How's it going?
Not a whole lot. Rocking my Braves stuff today. They swept the Pirates this weekend, and they're on an 11-game winning streak. So, good time to be a Braves fan. And it helped kind of overshadow some of the anxiety I'm having. For some of y'all who don't know, at the end of my lease in August, I will be moving out of Texas and heading back east, be around family. I've got family kind of from Florida to North Carolina. So I'm going to kind of go be closer to the family and, just kind of mix it up a bit. The city's gotten very expensive. I've kind of been priced out of it. And so, got to see what the rest of the country has to offer.
Yeah. And you have family in Atlanta as well, right?
I do. My sister and I think a couple of aunts and uncles are in Atlanta. My dad's in Florida, and grandparents in Tennessee and South Carolina.
Oh man, so your family is all East Coast.
It's, all Southeast. We kind of just all set up shop there, and no one ever decided to move. So,
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be sad. I've been here for 23 years, but, sometimes when you gotta go,
That's crazy to me, because you always talk about how you've been here since you were a kid, and I've also been here for 20 years, so the fact that you've only been here 3 years longer than me and you were a child totally throws me off. I forget how young you are until moments like that. So
I was going into 5th grade when I moved. Yeah. So.
I moved here when I graduated college the second time.
Oh, wow, okay.
So,
okay.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Totally the same thing, yes. That's not a sound effect. That's actually just Matt calling us old.
It does put things into perspective.
Yeah,
With age, for sure. I was just like, wow, it's been so long to be able to say that. So.
Yeah. So for people who are local, who are like, how much longer do we get Phil? Like, if they want to hang out with you or see you at the shop or whatever.
My lease is up, like, the first week of September. I will probably leave the last week of August. So, little under 2 months, roughly. I'm definitely in July and probably early August we'll be putting together some events. Basically, I want to say goodbye to Austin, do all the things that I love, go to all the places that I remember really enjoying. So throughout these next 2 months, I'm definitely going to be posting a lot of different stuff of like places I'm going to be, things I'm going to try and put together. Not like parties. I don't really want to do like a full-blown going away party, but, you know, just kind of a few small things here and there. You know, pinballs at some point, Austin Parks and Pizza.
Which has free bowling for kids all summer long. Too bad we're not children.
Yeah, but I have some friends who have kids.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll convince them to be like, yeah, I guess we can go check that out.
Yeah. Is there one Austin thing that you haven't ever done that you're hoping you can do before you leave?
I think I've done everything.
You think you've done everything?
Yeah, I've done all the stuff that, like, if you were to Google, go to the Greenbelt or go to Zilker Park, I've done Trail of Lights multiple times.
Yeah.
All those, like, hot spots that you were supposed to. Because I did go to, I went to San Marcos for college. Mm-hmm. And I was there for 2 years. And when I came back, I kind of, like, went head first and, like, I should do all the Austin things. Because, this is where I'm going to be for a while. So, there's nothing really in particular that I think I need to do that I haven't done yet.
I've never actually swam in the Barton Springs pool.
Really?
That is like one Austin thing I've actually never done.
It's wonderful.
But I lived on the Greenbelt, and so I always went down there and like down to the actual Greenbelt and like walked and like swam in the water that essentially like feeds into all of these Austin things. But I've never actually swam in the pool, which is a weird thing. I know.
Well,
but
there you go.
That's
I guess we'll have to have a
Barton
Springs day.
You have to like make it a thing because I don't know if everybody else. I feel like everybody's done it, and I was always like, oh yeah, I'll do that someday, and then I just never actually like. I was always like, there's a swimming pool over here. That's so much closer.
I enjoyed it because they had a snow cone. They have like a little concession stand, and the snow cones there were always so good. And then you could ride the little train around.
I've ridden the train because I've been to the park and I've been outside of the pool a lot. Right. I've just never swam in the pool. I've actually even sat like in the area. I've just never actually swam in the pool. I don't know why.
So wait, when you say you sat in the area, did you like actually go in?
Yeah. And like I've
do the giant hillside that
and like sat on the hillside. I just never actually swam in the pool. And Matt said he's never even sat on the hillside. So apparently you need to take us to...
Well, the nice thing is the best days to go are during the week. So like a Monday or Tuesday when the shop is closed. Maybe we can do a Barton Springs day.
Be your fill activity. We are winding down our weekend, and this week we are back to a Tempranillo, and it's been a minute. And this is Campo Viejo, and it's a Rioja, and it is in the middle of in an intensity, which based on Phil's expression, it's not. And it's low on complexity and in the middle on fruitiness. This says it pairs nicely with pasta, chicken, and medium-aged cheeses, fresh salads, and small bites, which are all of my favorite foods. It's got intense red cherry, notable of Tempranillo wine, distinguished aromas of full of vibrant, powerful notes of red fruit enriched by subtle hints of vanilla and spices. I'm going to try this.
I do taste the vanilla, and I like that. I can taste the cherry and the vanilla. I am curious, though, if this is middle intensity and I'm already having a tough time with this one. I want to know what a full-blown intensity is.
I would love to figure that out because I think I would love it. I know. That's why I was like, it's a Tempranillo. I'm giving you a little bit less today, Phil.
I appreciate that.
Because I know the intense flavors of Tempranillo is not usually your thing.
Yeah, it's tough.
But you have actually taken more drinks out of that than any of the other ones recently already. So we'll see. All right. We've got some new titles, some picks of the week, some things in stock, and some trades to talk to you about today. So we're going to jump right on in. And let's kick it off with Season of the Bruja, issue 3 from Oni Press. Did you read issue 1 and 2 of this?
I did not.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, this was kind of one of those that just fell under the radar for me, which is a shock because you're all. I love Oni Press, and you love all thing witches.
I do.
So I don't know if this was one that just because I feel like right now there's 4 or 5 witch books out right now.
There was, but most of them kind of ended. Like, the big focal, like, Witch Blood and all those have all ended. Shadow Service is back, but, like, there's not really, like, we kind of moved to monsters over witches now.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But I do like this one because it is such a beautiful story of a girl and her grandmother and, you know, passing that Bruja magic on as she goes along. And so the story starts with a young girl who is fighting demons and is supposed to be learning her witchcraft trade, and her grandmother is her teacher, but she doesn't ever listen. She does whatever she wants. The typical, like, 20-something-year-old girl who's kind of just like, oh, well, Grandma, you said to do this, but, like, you know, I'll believe that. I'm going to do what I want. And she ends up making all of these terrible decisions, and in the very first issue, something happens to her grandma. And now the girl is kind of on her own.
I did read the first issue.
You read the first issue? Okay.
Now the chick's fighting it.
Something happens to Grandma, and the girl is kind of on her own with her friends. Yeah, they have, like, the little weird, like, fox friends kind of thing, the weird, like, animals. And so now this girl is trying to figure out what is going on with her grandma, with the magic, how she can get her grandma back, maybe. And in this issue, as we always talk about in the third issue, you kind of see the big turn. And this goes into all of the background of who they are fighting against. And we see this kind of, like, secret society that formed out of essentially the Catholic Church and all of the stuff that they're doing and how they're trying to stop this Bruja magic and all of this family specifically. And so we can see this big epic battle coming up between the church and the magic world. But there is a deep undertone on both sides of things that are going on. So I love the way the story is developing. Leave it to Oni Press to, of course, give us a great new adult style title. They really thrive in that market of just into the early 20s, like people who are kind of on their own making it, and that coming of age story where we actually like come into our own.
Right.
And I can't wait to see how this plays out for her and where we go. And, you know, if Grandma's okay.
Yeah, I remember reading the first issue, but I don't remember the second issue coming out. Maybe that was a week that I missed.
Maybe. We don't have it if you need to go back. So I'm
Yes, I am trade waiting for this.
Yeah, I was like, gonna have to get more copies
choice.
of Season of the Bruja, and for sure. This is one of those that it got a Shann recommends tag on it, and literally I've had like 4 people that came in and said, I bought all of the copies of Season of the Bruja, like issues 1, 2, and 3, like all at the same time. Or like for this week, since 3 was out, a lot of people were like, I bought 1 and 2. I forgot to tell you that I loved it. Do you have a copy of 3? And I was like, I'm so glad that I ordered a lot of 3 because nobody told me where they were on it after they bought 1 and 2. And so many people bought it during Free Comic Book Day because we had just talked about on the live stream, and so they were like, I bought it during Free Comic Book Day, and so I just completely forgot. Up next is issue 3 of Dark Beach from Behemoth. I know you love this book, so
yes.
Get in it.
I mean, Sebastian Perez art, and it's a Behemoth title. This is everything I could ask for in a comic before I even read the story. And then, of course, you read the story, and it's a murder mystery set in a world where the sun is no longer here. And we've just kind of created this dark world, you know, and you are kind of peeling that back as you're trying to figure out this murder mystery, who the person was, why they were killed. I really, really enjoyed this book. In this issue, you have the main character who is a photographer. Mm-hmm. He goes around and takes photos for magazines and newspapers. And in this issue, he ends up taking drugs.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like in a weird way it's like a sidestep from the story. Mm-hmm. Kind of like a, hey, let's build outwards a little bit before we move forward. We're introduced to this drug dealer, Renji, who I would love to see a series of just this guy because of all the interesting things that he was saying about how, like, everything in life is a diversion outside of what's like. So basically the conversation, what we're doing in this room right now, everything outside of it's just a diversion. So I was just kind of like, oh, I really want a miniseries of this guy.
Which was also really good because the whole scene is almost, like you said, a diversion from the story. So it was a great, like, tongue-in-cheek moment.
Yeah. And that's just kind of how this felt. You know, you get to see the character interact with a few different people in his world. And then, of course, it's at the end of the issue, you know, when it's like, all right, you know, now it's time to kind of move this adventure forward. But I enjoyed this. I mean, you know, based on the 3-issue rule, this was the only thing I was interested in. There's one printing error.
There is a printing error.
So this page, they blew up a little too big. So it cuts off some of the panel down at the bottom.
And the sides. There's a couple of, like, spots on the side, which I was like, I don't know what I just missed, but I feel like it might have been important.
For a moment, I kind of thought that was, like, this weird... like maybe he's kicking back from the drugs a little, but then I feel like that would have been on both pages and it maybe would have lasted a little bit longer. But yeah, interesting little error there in the book, but overall I really enjoy this book. I like the world building.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like most of the sci-fi stories we've talked about recently, it's always been, hey, I want them to build the world outwards.
Yes.
And most of the time they're like, no, we need to build upwards as quickly as possible to the end. So I kind of like that this one stepped out a little bit and showed us some other characters.
Yeah, this one seems to be taking its time moving through the story,
Yes.
which I like because he's not really an active participant.
Correct.
As much as he is also still the main character. Like, the world is kind of moving around him and he is... like, I should be doing something about this, and I'm fixing to go get started on this, like, investigation.
Right.
But, like, before I do that, let me go over here and do this. And so it has almost more of a real feel, because we do see so many books recently where a normal person becomes involved in an investigation, and then they're all of a sudden the all-star, like, person who can... and this guy, he's not. He's like, I don't know, I've landed in a big mess of stuff, and I was just thinking some drugs would be cool.
Yeah,
and his friend's like, I don't have any drugs. Like, get out of here. And he's like, well, what the hell are we friends for? Like,
yeah, it's basically like, well, you know, and then he started, you know, that's when he started asking for the guy, like, hey, just give me your drug guy, and I'll just go directly to him. But yeah, I think it's like a nice little interesting sidestep. But it's a good enough issue too, where you're like, I want to keep reading this.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of hoping that, unlike some of the other books that are going on right now with these really great worlds that are being built, I hope this one just continues to slow the pace. Just take your time. Give me, like, every 3 issues, do like one of these little sign off the wall. Who cares what's actually going on?
Let's just do stuff.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of number 2s this week.
Yes.
So it's kind of going to be a little bit more of that world building conversation for a lot of these books. And up first is Metal Society issue 2 from Image Comics, specifically the Top Cow imprint, which is kind of seeing a big resurgence right now. So Metal Society is essentially kind of like before we get to Not All Robots. We are in a world where humans have become the obsolete race. Robots have taken over, and the robots have all of their rules. They run society, and humans are kind of just there to do the labor that they don't want to do. They're supposed to just be more of like sanitation and kind of just there, really, more than anything. And humans have decided it's time to fight back, and they are petitioning for their right to live in this society, and as the robots, and kind of doing a really good job of explaining to robots their value, which of course means now we get to a point where humans are replacing robots in the jobs that the robots replace the humans in, and now the robots are acting out and fighting. And so this whole thing is the backstory leading to the ultimate moment where we are going to have a MMA style fight between robots and humans to see if they can have a place in the world.
What an interesting concept.
What an interesting concept. And very, like, detailed. Like, every time I think about it, I'm like, because within 2 issues, they have fleshed out a lot. This issue was very detail heavy of the backstory of both the main robot from the fight and the main girl from the fight, but also all of robot dynamics and economics and structure, but also all of that for humans too within this world. Like this book put in a lot of exposition really fast through this issue.
Yeah, and I was kind of concerned of how this story was going to play out. Like, was this going to be, like a 4 to 6 issue miniseries that's mostly the fight with like cuts to things that are going on in the world around it? Mm-hmm. But I kind of like the route of like, hey, let's build up this backstory, because kind of at the end of the day, you're like, well, why is this fight that big of a deal? Like, there have been fighting matches throughout history that, were considered really big, but like, how many can we actually name? Like, how many do those hold up? So it was kind of interesting to me that this is the route that they're taking, and I'm perfectly okay with it.
Yeah. It actually made the story way better to me.
Yes. This is kind of one that, like, when I saw it in the pile the first time, I was like, I don't know. And I saw it in the pile the second time, I was like, do I even want to read this? Like, is this even something that I care about? Because I don't like MMA. I'm not a big fan of fighting. But I feel like this one, and also, too, you kind of look at it and you're like, well, it's not all robots, so, why wouldn't I just go back and reread that one?
Yeah. But, and I feel like this is kind of like the way... we had We Live and Origins at the same time. Yeah. It was like Origins could have very well been the origin story to We Live. This kind of feels like it could be the origin story to Not All Robots.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, here's how we ended up in that place where the robots were in charge.
Yeah, it kind of scares me a bit, though, that we are seeing a few of these, like, robots taking over,
A lot of things, especially because I think somebody this week's... I saw an article like today that said that this week somebody's cybernetic system went online on its own.
Oh, God.
And somebody posted it and said, Sarah Connor, I hope you're doing okay because we're about to need you. And I was like, yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Up next, somebody who can protect us from these robots. Yes. Jenny Zero Jenny Zero Volume 2 Issue 2
yes.
from Dark Horse Comics.
Yes, we are getting another 4-issue miniseries, which I'm perfectly okay with. I mean, if this is the route that Dark Horse wants to take with Jenny Zero and just do these 4-issue miniseries. I know another character who had a bunch of 4-issue miniseries, and that's Hellboy, who's been around for decades. So, maybe we're going to see 20 years of Jenny Zero, and if they're going to be like this, then yes, let's do it. So in Volume 2, one of the cool things that they're kind of doing with this story is interweaving her dad's journal entries. So you see a bit of that here in this issue, as well as a continuation from issue 1, where she was basically finishing up. She finished up her last adventure from Volume 1, and now she's being thrust into helping a death cult.
Yes.
And in this issue, she fights the what is it? Is it Big Boy or is it Fat? Is it Big Boy Burgers?
Big Boy Burgers.
She fights the Big Boy Burger guy, and he's a giant evil robot, which is just awesome. I mean, look, Jenny Zero is kind of if you took Jessica Jones, and turned her into a kaiju fighter. The art's fantastic. And we also, in this issue, we get to see her uncle who comes in and kind of does the whole, like, hey, there's this evil death cult. And she's like, yeah, I know all about them. They're no big deal. I'll take care of them. But, yeah, I mean, this book is fantastic.
It's always so much fun.
Yeah.
And it is very, if you watch the Jessica Jones show, it almost feels more like Jessica Jones and Triss, her best friend, on there. So if you're like a Hellcat and Jessica Jones team up kind of fan, but it's more of that version of them, almost as the TV show versions of them, because it is the best friend who's the celebrity who is like, oh, we all used to party together, and she's like, why don't we party again? Like, it would be great. So they're living their best party life at the same time as being a giant kaiju, and it has that same humor that a lot of the big kaiju books right now have.
Yes.
It kind of does it well, where it blends it into a nice story. So even though, like, one of the things is, like, she has to burp, it, like, goes, like, while she's in, like, kaiju form, it kind of goes in this direction where it's like, oh, you actually use that as part of the narrative and not just like a punchline to a joke.
Right.
So, but yeah, at the same time, it's still a punchline to a joke. So they're doing a really good job with the way they're writing it out.
Yeah, for me, I think the big appeal to Ginny Zero, and I was talking about this with somebody last week, was that Ginny Zero kind of falls into the same kind of characters like Squirrel Girl, you know, and that's the big appeal. It's just, this is such a really fun character to follow. She's hilarious, but also a total badass.
Yeah.
And the art, again, like I love the art in this book. I kind of just want to see Ginny Zero last forever. But if you read Volume 1, definitely check this one out. It's almost even better, in my opinion.
It's definitely more story.
Yeah. But yeah, check it out. It's only going to be 4 issues. But, you know, Dark Horse. Hopefully we're going to get hardcovers. Because I don't think there was a hardcover for the first one. I think it was just in a softcover.
Yeah, that might be the case. Yeah, 1. Which is a rarity for Dark Horse. Up next is Emo Girl issue 2 from Black Tooth Comics. Really should have come up with a better name. It's not my favorite name.
So many other choices for a name. It's not even like, there's not even like emo references.
There's no emo references.
No.
It has nothing to do with that. She's literally just a monster hunter. It's like if you would have renamed Buffy the Vampire Slayer Emo Girl.
Yes.
And then thought that that was like the best name for the book. It's a terrible name for a book that's actually not as terrible as the name would imply.
Yeah, and of course I started reading it because it was called Emo Girl.
Right, I was into the idea of it being called.
And I was like, I thought it was just going to be about a girl who was emo. But this is kind of like somebody who was like, I want to tell the story of Buffy, but I need to give her a different type of persona. And this is written by somebody who doesn't know what emo actually is. You know, they're like, oh, that was a thing.
It's really more goth than emo.
Yeah, definitely more goth. But yeah, so we find out in the first issue that it's this girl who teams up with her dad and fights monsters, essentially.
Yeah.
And in this issue, she goes to a concert and decides to fight an actual vampire.
An actual vampire.
Yeah. What an interesting issue this was. Because, like, the dialogue between her and this vampire guy is just so bad. It definitely feels like a CW show.
It does.
It definitely does. So if you're a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, this is the book for you. Because it feels like it hits on all those things with the bad dialogue. And then, of course, like, he wants to hook up with her, even though he knows who she is.
He knows yeah.
He's like, I know you're trying to hunt me, but you're just so hot. And I'm like, this is so terrible. But I can't look away.
No, I can't either. And honestly, like, the way they drew her on the cover, she almost looks like the girl that played, the Kat McNamara, who played the main girl on Shadowhunters. That's
right.
Which does have a lot of the same elements as the Shadowhunters show.
Yeah.
And also that show had a lot of cheesy dialogue. So it kind of does feel a lot like that. And there is that, like, nightclub scene in there where, like, she goes to it. And I was like, oh, this feels very similar to the Shadowhunters show. And they're drawing her to look like Kat McNamara, so I'm assuming that this person also was a fan of Shadowhunters, which is cool because I have a Mortal Instruments tattoo, so I ain't mad at it.
Does it say Black Tooth?
Black Tooth Comics, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's definitely something. Oh, another thing we didn't even talk about, COVID's in this book.
COVID is in this book. This is the second book in like 2 weeks now. We've had books that have made a direct reference to COVID as a thing that actually happened, because we had a lot of books like right at the beginning that were about COVID as a non-fictional situation, but we've had a lot of books in the last like month or two that have actually talked about COVID in terms of how it impacted the people and just being a real time stamp essentially for what it is. And in this one it's like, hey, there's this thing called COVID, they're saying all sports activities and things like that in the school are canceled. And it just talking about that. So I'm actually curious to see how that's going to impact the storytelling from here on.
They have them in masks for the preview of issue 3. So I'm curious, how much that's going to like play into this storyline, and if this was the idea from the beginning. Maybe this was a book that was written a while ago and got delayed. Because I'm kind of curious if that's going to be like
something we see in general in books and storytelling now. Like, and then there was this, and then the COVID pandemic happened, and it's like, it just kind of gives you your time frame. Up next, issue 2 of Dogs of London from Aftershock Comics.
I skipped this one.
You skipped it this week? After that big cliffhanger at the end of the last one.
You can't keep putting them on the cover with dog heads, and then they're not anthropomorphic dogs.
Okay, I gave that feedback directly to my Aftershock rep twice now. I was like, hey, here we are again, and there's no anthropomorphic dogs. You mother F goosed it.
And that was also Aftershock.
Which was also Aftershock. And I told them that. I was like, stop giving me these teasers of anthropomorphic animals and then telling me stories about humans. Because you know what? Humans are way less interesting than anthropomorphic animals.
And we've had stories about humans forever now. Like, let's maybe just move all of our comics to anthropomorphic animals.
Says the hardcore Ninja Turtle collector.
And the comic community loves anthropomorphic animals.
We always have.
Yes. Thank you again, Kevin.
That's like putting people in furry suits and waving it in front of furries and then not having them in furry suits.
Yeah.
You know, it's totally true.
They're into it, you know?
That said, Dogs of London is starts out in issue 1 as kind of the story of a bunch of British teenagers who were raised in the slums of a part of England, and they are, hey, we got only one choice. It's we either like join a mob, become a mob, or die. And they kind of get their roles. They kind of take it on. Feels very Departed-esque in the way the storytelling moves and everything. And then we see them grow up. We see who becomes successful, who gets out, who stays in, and then who didn't make it. And the end of issue 1 left us with some big cliffhangers, and issue 2 sets up, picks up right where that fallout of that situation is. We start out immediately kind of looking into it from all the different angles. We see some of the people fall right back into their old lifestyle. We see the repercussions of what they did. But what is really cool is in issue 1 we got to see some of the backstory of them as kids, and in this one we are seeing more of that backstory. So really, if you mix like Stand By Me and The Departed, you might kind of have this, because you're seeing this group of kids who are like, we made a pact to be, to watch out for each other and do this, and we kind of failed in that method. And this is where we fall because of that, and this is what's going to happen. And yet there is another like weird twist. Like, we took it in another direction entirely again in issue 2. So it is Peter Milligan, so it's like every time he hits like a layer, he's like, okay, now what other layer can I add to the storytelling? And you definitely see that through this, because it's like, oh, well, we all ended up in, juvie. And then it's like, well, this is what happened to us when we were in juvie. And the thing that happened is another weird twist of the story that you're like, okay. So where this is going is not your regular, like, we've now, like I said, we've now had the Stand By Me kid story. We've now had the Departed, and now we're going to this other level that's going to take us in more of that like supernatural kind of mentality, a little bit different like storytelling. We're going a little more almost even science fiction, could go in a completely different direction, which makes sense for Aftershock, because we very rarely see just classic like gangs and spies and things like that from Aftershock. They always usually have some kind of super like or preternatural like storytelling element to it, and so we are going to see that coming into this story, I think, in issue 3, which is going to be a big turn.
All right. Maybe I'm a little more intrigued now that you're saying the twists and turns are getting a little more interesting. But if you put anthropomorphic dogs on the cover,
you better have an anthropomorphic dog. And in fact, nobody's even put on a mask to look like an anthropomorphic dog.
Awesome.
I know!
The cover is great.
Awesome.
Could have been a Reservoir Dogs, literally. Literally could have been Reservoir Dogs. Instead, it is humans, not. Here we go. Quest Aside, issue 2 from Vault Comics. It's Always Sunny in the Realms. What do you got for me, Phil?
Oh, it does.
That is actually their tagline.
So, which is perfect, because it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia if it was set in like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So all those bars where your quests start, Usually, most of the times when I played campaigns, we always started in a bar or a tavern. Well, this is that bar that you go to in between your adventures, and it's kind of centered around the odd group of people in this little bar. You have an undead cook, you have a mage in training. The bar owner is Barrow, and he used to be like one of those crazy adventurers. And there's one more.
There's the girl who has vengeance against the king.
Yes. And then they also have one of their bartender, or I guess she's more of a waitress as well. But this is a great series. I mean, we loved that first issue a whole bunch. And it kind of ended with the king coming in and being like, hey, I'm going to put an end to your bar and you can't do this anymore. And so this kind of picks up after that, and you kind of see things, a little bit of a fallout from that. And so this is kind of now moving forward with Barrow trying to figure out, hey, where can I go from here?
Yeah.
What's my plan going to be? But again, also just kind of seeing like these like fun, quirky little things. There's an Adventurers Anonymous group that is started in this issue, which is great. There was one where a monster's like, I can't sleep with my wife without saying, come hither there, or something, or
come at me.
Come at thee. And just like,
have at thee.
Yeah, have at thee.
Have at thee.
And
then there's the one guy who starts out with like this really noble sounding story, and then the further it goes, the more it's like starts to like really get dark, and he's like, all right, and that's enough of that.
But it's just like a fun little like thing to look at, and then it cuts to two of the employees, the woman who's has vengeance against the king, talking to this waitress about her relationship troubles.
Yeah. So
it's a lot of like really fun little things that are happening. And of course you have like the overarching story that's taking place here. But, it's just these fun little things going on.
As a person who is into comics and who has played D&D and who also works in the restaurant industry, is this like the epitome of what your brain sounds like? Yeah.
Yes. If my imagination was more fantastical. I've never worked in a bar. I've worked next to and outside of bars. And food trucks, and the bar scene is an interesting one. It's its own little world, and now I kind of almost feel like I want to go back and kind of watch it with this perspective in mind. But I love this book. It's a lot of fun. It's really funny, and all of these characters are great.
Yeah, and they're all very fleshed out. Already, almost immediately, like they all, you know who everybody is, how they'll respond in this situation, and you feel like you've been watching the show for like 3 seasons by now when you get into this issue.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It's a vault title. It's been really great 2 issues in. It feels like it's probably only going to be a miniseries, but yeah, I definitely, if you're a fan of D&D, all those times you had to step into a bar.
And I'm not a D&D person. I can't sit there through the rules long enough to like get into it. Like honestly and truthfully, like that's the holdup on it. It's not the storytelling. It's not the it takes 3 hours to play and it takes 4 hours to read the rules, and make your characters and all that. But I still really like this book. So even if you're not a fan of D&D, but you just like funny fantasy-based like stories that feel very grounded in reality, even though it's very fantastical, you can still really like this. And it actually was like a Shann recommends for a while, and somebody came out and picked it up, and they brought it to the front, and they were like, "Why do you recommend this?" And I was like, "Because it's hilarious as fuck." And they were like, well, "There you go. Okay, that's a selling point." And I was like, "I didn't need to make a card. I just needed to tell you it's funny."
Yeah.
So if you are even like moderately like into just fantasy at all, but you also really like stories that are just very well grounded between groups of friends, this is a book that will handle that. I also feel like I'm very D&D adjacent at this point, because like my other book that I really loved was The Last Session, which was
Yeah,
like a
that's right.
Madcave book about D&D, and I'm like, I don't actually play D&D, but I really love that story.
So actually, when I started playing, I had friends who very much wanted to get into it, but much like you, they were like, well, I don't want to do that. So I actually created my own campaign, but instead of being like, hey, we're going to stick to these really intense rules, I'm going to tear it down to like the real basics of it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to create my own story, and I'll set up everything. And so I did it to where it was like, you can be any type of fictional characters. Like, one of my friends was a Jedi, and so I
Nice.
built like a side quest for him to find his lightsaber. So like, I took away all of the really intense rules side of it,
That's what I'm talking about.
and was like, hey, let's just strip this to the bare minimum. Look, you're gonna roll some dice and fight some creatures. You're gonna have a good time. And so that's usually how I like to do it with people who are like, I want to play, but it seems like a lot. And it's like, yeah, I'm well aware. We'll take a lot of that away.
Yeah.
And just kind of, let me show you why I enjoy it. So, but yeah, it's such a great book.
There you go. All right, moving to some number ones. First up is the other half of the Artist Elite teaser. This is the Artist Elite premiere Blue. Primer Blue, there you go. And honestly, like, you just opened up to the first artist because it's Tyler Kirkham, and I was like, man, this artist, who is this guy? And then I was like, oh, it's Tyler Kirkham. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll do
the double page, this is so. Anyway, if you like art that's very detailed, you're gonna want to check out Tyler Kirkham's book that comes out from the Artist Elite line when that launches.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be one of those publishing companies where the storytelling's not going to be the greatest, but you're really not here for that in particular. You're more so here for the beautiful art. Which I'm okay with, because even just looking at this cover, you see a lot of characters that look very similar to a lot of other characters. Like, I feel like I'm looking at Red Hood here on the front.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is kind of a cool way to get you excited for what's coming.
That looks cool.
Like, I mean, look, these books are going to be beautiful.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a big modern artist fan in the sense of, like, some of the bigger names like Clayton Crane and Tyler Kirkham. I've never really cared much for their art. But at the same time, I can acknowledge that they are very talented human beings. Tyler Kirkham's pencil work is just... It's crazy when you strip away all that other stuff. You're like,
when you take away the digitization of the colors that get thrown on top of it. Like, because to me, I was like... I didn't expect that from Tyler Kirkham. Like, when I opened it up and I was like, oh my god, that's the Tyler Kirkham one? Yeah. Okay, I was like, because they digitize, because he does so much with Marvel and DC, who digitize their colors so much and, like, flat base out a lot of the pencils for that. Which is, again, why they're doing this. So I really think Artist Elite is kind of, you know, this new generation, like you said, like this new modern generation. It's kind of their image moment where they're coming together and they're saying, hey, we really wanted a chance to tell our stories. We really want a chance to just do our art the way we want. And nobody's letting us do that. So we're just going to do it ourselves. And this is a time where that's a very easy thing to do. And they're being, you know, they were able to get in with Lunar for distribution, like, very quickly. Without, you know, before these are previews that are just coming out already. And honestly, if you're a speculator, this is one of those things that you probably need to just buy and put in your collection. If you're a fan of Image and you like to keep up with those artists, like, who start their own things, this is something to put in your collection because it is going to be those first appearances of all these characters in the long run.
I think another thing too that's great for these, even if you're not a speculator and you do want to come in and skim through it, and then that's a great...
Let us know what books you like.
Yeah, that's a great time, almost like a previews catalog, where you're like, hey, this new Tyler Kirkham book, Final Boss, you know, can you just kind of keep an eye on for when it's going to come out?
Yeah.
So I actually kind of really like this, having its own little mini previews catalog.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, I look at some of these books, like Death Witch looks cool, and the Red Hood knockoff looks kind of cool.
Red Ronin. And I like that one towards the beginning. Go back, that had, not Tyler Kirkham's, but, like, not far after that. I mean, that looks cool.
Yeah.
But, this whole thing, whatever that is. That's the
yeah,
I think
that's
it's the
this
same
Belong.
one. Yeah, this Belong book. Who's doing that? Because that sounds.
It's Freddie E. Williams II and James T. Mitchell.
Show them this. This just looks so cool. I as a horror comic fan, like this is actually the number one Artist Elite book that's piqued my interest so far, because it does look like if you threw some James Tynion on there, that would have been the next big book. So.
Yeah, so I definitely think this is a cool, fun little thing to do, give people a chance. But I also could see that that debate happening of first appearances. And they're like, well, technically Primer Blue is the first appearance.
It's going to be a thing that people say later on.
What's the first appearance of Grendel?
Primer number 2.
You just had to do that on purpose.
I quit. No, just kidding. No, I'm okay. Well, I think that's different though, because that wasn't technically a preview. The Primer. So.
It was just called Primer, so it was funny.
Yeah. It's a weird series that no one really bought when it came out.
That's fair.
Yeah,
so they're hard to get. Which is probably how this is going to be.
Oh, 100%.
No one really bought it.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, like 10 years down the road when one of these characters blows up.
And one of them will undoubtedly blow up.
Like, honestly, the Death Witch character looks pretty cool, whoever that character is.
There's the Artist Elite Primer Red had an Alan Quah thing in there. Like, that's a huge option for something that might blow up because Alan Quah is an artist that people are just specifically watching right now, so...
I just hope that in, like, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years... some kid is digging through a box. He's like, oh my god, this book's worth like so much money. And it's like, I remember
wondering what that was when I pulled it out of the pile Shannon made for me to read.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that moment. It's going to be great. All right, so we got some more number ones. First of all, Aftershock had 2 space titles that are not actually space titles this week.
But they... tease things that seem like
some spacey feels. I feel like sci-fi is where we're headed right now. We always talk about the genres that are pushing. We had like our Old West, we had a bunch of other things. Now we're kind of moving to see a lot of sci-fi, and this is where Starships
go to die. Yes, number 1.
Number 1 from Aftershock. Phil, what is this book about? For the people out
This is a story very much like one we've seen before, where the world that we live on is falling apart. It's becoming uninhabitable. So we look to space for answers. And so we sent this giant ship up there called Daedalus, and it was actually something created by America, China, and Russia. And so they put this giant ship into space to go find another habitable planet, but it actually crashes down back on Earth. So the hopes that we had are now gone, but we're introduced to a captain who was once an astronaut, and his kind of sitting there. I love this little part where in the beginning... they're doing their little radio transmission, and they're like, and it's like going through the newscast, and they're like, and the Daedalus is piloted by, and it cuts to his little dialogue, and he's like, undeserving sons of bitches.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm already in. This book, just based on this little dialogue, I'm sold.
Which was also really cool because the ship it's the Daedalus, which no, it's fine, it's great. And that's Icarus's father. So he's actually the person who built Icarus the wings.
Wait, so it's always been pronounced that way?
It's a die.
Everyone I've always talked to would say Daedalus as well.
Yeah. No, here's your Greek pronunciation. It's D-I. Dialis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's fine. I don't think most people know ancient Greek. But that wasn't where the whole point was that it's the father of Icarus. Yeah. You're like, but I said it wrong.
Yeah.
No, it's the father of Icarus, which I love that we sent this. This is your whole key to your whole story because the guy who built the wings for Icarus is what they named the ship after. The ship that they send up into space to figure out if we could survive somewhere else, and then the ship comes crashing down, and is our premise of our story.
Interesting. So there's going to be a lot of Greek mythology.
There's going to be a lot of mythology reference or fictional references in general because we do see which apparently the Point Nemo is a real place, which I've learned this week.
It actually is.
Yeah, because it's in more than one book this week. So Point Nemo is actually a real place. And that is what this is all about, is Point Nemo, which is out the South Pacific. And it's a rotating current that prevents nutrient-rich water from coastal areas flowing deep into the ocean. So it is actually where spaceships crash land into and stuff like that gets dropped into. It is the most remote place on the planet, because nothing can get there, no life can form, nothing like that.
Yeah.
And so in this whole book, that's where they are going. They are going to Point Nemo.
Right, and they are going to get the reactor, because this woman believes that she can give free energy to a large part of the world with the reactor from the ship. So this is kind of the kicking off that adventure. They kind of skim over some stuff pretty quickly in this book. Like the team that they put together, they kind of rush through this to kind of jump ahead to the actual adventure itself.
Which is flipped for Aftershock, because usually a first book for Aftershock is very exposition heavy, and this one was like, hey, we got to get on this adventure. Yeah,
it's like, we don't have time. There's other countries that are trying to do this as well. But yeah, this was kind of an interesting book. I like the premise of it. I feel like the delivery wasn't the strongest in issue 1. And I think it's maybe because I compared it to the other sci-fi Aftershock book that was very similar to
and
it.
I compared it to another book that we're going to talk about. Probably, we'll just talk about it. I'm going to talk about it at the end of this, because it's like one of those, let's just call it a pick of the week, but I don't know if it's a pick of the week because you didn't read it, but
you can still
be a pick of the week. I mean, honestly, just
it's
the art alone is your pick of the week. So there's another one. There's 2 more in pick of the week that basically make the story if you put them together.
Right.
That did a little bit better of telling the same story.
Yeah.
But this wasn't bad in any way. Like, I definitely I can't wait to see how they tell the story in issue 2 and where they go, because it does bring a lot of fictional worlds into play in this, and I like when where literary worlds are actually real.
Right, where it's like, oh, these weren't made up stories. These are like actually things that happen that we just can't believe for some reason. So there are aspects of this book that I am looking forward to.
If you are a Jules Verne fan, this is a book that you have to start reading immediately.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of Jules Verne stuff in this book, so get ready. I think it's great. You know, Aftershock. It's they're doing what they know how to do.
Absolutely, so, and they're doing it well, and they're finding some great stories right now. And it's going to be one of them, I think. And if you're a fan of sci-fi, or like we said, Jules Verne, which I guess is still sci-fi, you definitely need to read it.
Yes.
Afterschool, the Afterschool special from Skybound. This is Image, aka Skybound imprint, Robert Kirkman's imprint at Image, and this is issue 1 of Afterschool, which is basically, what if we did the Afterschool specials were all horror based, essentially.
Yes.
And we open up this story to follow a young girl who has a dog that was given to her, and it gave her confidence and happiness and wonder and magic. And then we find out that there's more to that dog than meets the eye.
Yes. Yeah, this was a story that I had no idea where this was going.
The solicit gave you nothing for where the story was going.
And yet, I loved it. I thought... And this is a one-shot?
No. This is a series.
So, and I'm sorry. Not a one-shot. It's an anthology?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me check.
Because that's kind of the vibe I was getting as I read this. Because it kind of felt like you could consider this story wrapped up to some degree. I mean, not really, but like you could revisit it. But yeah, this...
Horror anthology.
Okay.
Morals have eroded. Kids are out of control. Skybound's new horror anthology is going to teach the teens a lesson.
Okay. But yeah, this is a really great first issue. Like, I don't really want to give away too much. Like, obviously, I'm showing some of the art. I probably won't go too much further than this because, like, especially the reveal. And I'm going to stop there.
Page.
Yeah, I'll show the back page because it's really funny. But, like, this book had everything.
It had everything. And it felt like watching, honestly, it felt like watching Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes.
It was like, it felt like an after school show. It felt, but a horror show, but not so deep that, like, it would be too much for teenagers.
Right.
Like, it felt like if you made Are You Afraid of the Dark into a comic book, very much so.
Yeah, I loved this issue. It had everything, comedy, it had really cool art, a lot of really interesting character design.
Yeah.
And, like, as the story goes, you're like, where is this going? I'm so lost here. And it had me on the edge of my seat. There are moments in this where I'm like, wait, please don't go that route. Like,
yeah,
it messes with you a little bit here. And I don't want to give too much away because I do want people to come in and pick this book up.
Pick this one up. And honestly, like, this is one of those books where I'm like, read it in the store if you're not going to buy it, because you just need to come read it. And I feel like if you do read it, you're going to be like, okay, I'm in. Subscribe me to this.
Yes.
Like, give me this issue. Subscribe me to the series. Like, if this is where this anthology is going. And we should all know by now not to sleep on horror anthologies from Image Comics. So if you're sleeping on this, you're already, like, messing up, because it's going to be good. And again, it's just, it feels very almost nostalgic in the way the story is told.
Yeah.
Stranger Things fans, like, this is going to be very similar to your, like, storytelling method that you like.
Definitely.
You know, again, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Anything like that, like, you need to pick this up. Yeah.
I feel like this is a really smart book to be putting out at this time period with a lot of that kind of, 80s, 90s vibes. I really enjoyed that first issue.
Yeah. Next up from Madcave, we have Potions Inc. issue 1. Do you wanna do it? You want me to do it? What do you want?
This one's all you.
Okay. Did you read it?
I did not. This is one I did not get
This
to.
is very long, so I was wondering if you were going to be able to get through it, because there's a lot in it.
Yeah.
But this is, basically, this is the story of a family who runs a potion shop in, it's like olden fictional world. It is a fictional world, and it's all magic induced, and they run a potion shop, and the one brother is he's always trying to go out on his own and deal with his own thing, and he doesn't want to run the potion shop. Like, he doesn't care that there's always money in the banana stand. He wants to go out and live his life. And his siblings who are twins are, like, good at magic, and they're good at selling magic, and they're good at doing everything. So they work at the potion shop, and whenever they're there, the sales are great, and they are doing all the magic. They're the ones who create all the potions with the parents. And he's just kind of the black sheep who isn't really good at anything. And so one day, he's kind of telling his parents, maybe I need to move on. Maybe I'm just bringing the whole family down. And his parents are like, you just gotta find your thing. You gotta, find it. And he ends up finding this amulet, and he's like, oh, this is it. This is my thing. Like, this is my good luck charm. It's gonna lead me on my path. And turns out that is the wrong thing to have picked up. And it leads to a battle. It leads them to, obviously, our villain. It leads to him and his siblings having to go on a quest to a world that makes no sense to them, that we may be very familiar with. So it's going to be one of those great stories of coming into your own, figuring out who you are, and maybe the one who's the odd man out is actually the one who is the most needed in the family. Great story. It is really heavy at the beginning, and, like, feeling very, like, kind of, like, heavy-handed in it's okay to be different at the very beginning, but then going very much into the mythology and lore of the place. But then the back half of the book starts to set up the adventure, and kind of has that, like then you really get into it. So you're like, once you get to that back half of the book, you're like, oh man, I want to go on this quest with them. Right. I kind of want to see something terrible happen to his siblings, because they're awful to him. They feel very much like the stepsisters in Cinderella, where they're like, well, we're good at everything and you're just trash, kind of people. And so you're almost like, if something bad happens to them, like, I don't care. But I also kind of hope they learn and grow as the story goes on. But totally in, kind of want to see where this goes. Definitely want to see how issue 2 plays out, because they are in a place that's not going to make any sense to them, and I want to see how that turn plays into the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the art. This will definitely be at the top of my to-read pile before next week's books come out.
Yeah.
For sure. Because this was the one I wanted to read. because I love this cover. I like the art, and I kind of thought this was going to be another one of those like, oh, this is the world of retail.
Yeah.
And the world of magic.
I thought it was going to be that, and I was kind of excited because we have our world of the bar
yeah.
and food service side of the service industry. So I thought like we were like the retail side was getting a book because nobody ever gives the retail side any love.
No.
So maybe I need to write the fantasy book about working in retail.
I think you should. That's a book that I would be interested in reading, obviously because I've experienced the world of retail.
Yeah.
So
right.
That's kind of what I was expecting. And then as I was flipping through, I was like, oh, this is going to be more of like, it's another adventure book.
Yeah, it's another adventure book. But this is an adventure I'm definitely curious to see, and I think that Madcave has been doing a great job with this new round of storytelling they've got, Speed Republic and things like that. This new wave of Madcave has been really, really strong, and I can't wait to see where this goes. This is one that they actually sent us an ash can of, so we have an ash can in the back that I'm super excited about. Now that I've read it. Speaking of magical worlds within our own reality, The Ward, issue 1 from Dark Horse. Did you get to read this one?
I did not.
Oh my gosh.
This was at the top. So it was this and then Potions were at the top, and I did not have enough time. I ended up reading the story that we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, and that's fine. You got your picks of the weekend, so that's good. I feel like this is one you might actually, like Potions, this is one you're going to actually enjoy when you do go back. This is a girl who she's talking about how she's, bad at like kind of getting her stuff done, and she's like, oh, I gotta go pick him up, like this kid up, and I gotta do all this stuff and trying to live my best life. And then she turns to her, she's like, I'm gonna go change and then I'll go do all of that. And she turns to come down her hallway, and her neighbor is sitting there with a woman who has been stabbed. And he's like, we gotta get an ambulance. And she's like, no, we can't do that. And then she ends up calling an ambulance, but she calls him from a very specific hospital. And it turns out that specific hospital is a hospital for supernatural, like preternatural creatures. We've got, demons and ghosts and people who can like split themselves into multiple people. All kinds of things. So we are getting a story that's basically an ER kind of story, but for mythical creatures. But also at the same time, we start out this story very quickly with there is a mystery of how this person was attacked and what's going on, and why all of these things are happening. And we learn that our main character used to be a doctor at this hospital, and we don't know the whys and hows. She's not anymore. But she is the one who brings this person in, so she's kind of doing all this work, and we see all the hostility and resentment and the drama. So this is like if Grey's Anatomy mixed with a supernatural kind of show, and you blend it all together, because you do get all the doctor drama of like, oh, this is a person that I slept with back when I worked here. But then you also get the mystery of, well, we got to figure out why this girl was attacked and who attacked her, and the way that comes into play in the story is really cool. But very Dark Horse feeling, but a really fun story, and I'm kind of curious to see how these play out and how these characters all come to connect, and where the world goes. And you get the human who helped, and it's like, oh, we can't let this human remember anything, but will they remember? Well, they won't remember. You get those little teasers throughout. That's kind of interesting.
I think the thing that was kind of why it moved to the bottom is because I was never one of those hospital drama fans. You
get a lot of hospital drama at the very beginning, but almost feels like the beginning of Doctor Strange, where Christine and Steven are walking through and they're talking at the same time. But then it's all we're trying to figure out why this person has a giant horn cut through their side. What could have done that? What is this shape? What is it? And all this stuff. So, cool things. Up next, we've got, it's technically issue 14, but it is the start of the new story arc for That Texas Blood. This is definitely a place that you can jump in. It's Image Comics. If you haven't jumped into That Texas Blood before, I love that Image is now actually labeling a lot of their books new story arc. Mm-hmm. And this story arc all takes place in the 90s, which Jacob Phillips was just here recently and told me that this is going to be the 90s arc, and I was like, let's do it! It's about time we move to the 90s in all of our storytelling. We've been on the 80s for long enough. Right. Let's go 90s. But But this is, Dallas, Texas Blood is the story that basically follows a small town cop in Ambrose County, and it's kind of gone through his whole history of his time that's been there. We've seen stuff from the 70s, we've seen stuff from the now. We're kind of just seeing all these different things that have happened in this terrible West Texas town, where things shouldn't happen, but somehow all kinds of weird, like, serial killers and supernatural things seem to all come to play. And in this particular one, we see a whole new story of a killer and things starting up. And this one feels almost like, you know, the last volume was all about like a cult in the 70s. And this one's kind of your 90s. Because it is 90s, it's more of your slasher movie.
Okay.
Kind of thing. Like the call is coming from inside the house kind of situation. And you can get that from the cover that Jacob did, where it's like the girl looks like kind of a Scream homage. So this is, for the 90s fans, this is going to be the That Texas Blood, small town Texas slasher movie kind of moment for you. But Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips are just nailing it with this, and you get a great blend of crime, like noir, and horror with this book that just I need at all times. So I love this book so much. And again, if you've never read any of That Texas Blood, this is labeled a new story arc because you can jump in. And as of this issue, I was like, nothing that I read before even really matters, because I could have started right here and been fine.
Interesting. And this is technically volume 3 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's technically volume 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only read the first trade.
Well, get in there. Read this one. It's great.
Yeah, I need to. I mean, I loved that first volume so much. I mean, the art and the storytelling, it's so fantastic.
It's so good. And I guess I should have said Eisner nominated Jacob Phillips on art, because Jacob was nominated for his colors on the Reckless series.
That's right.
Last new number 1 in this round is Poison Ivy number 1 from G. Willow Wilson. I have been waiting for this book forever. Mostly because we don't see a lot of Poison Ivy series on her own. This is a 6-part mini. It's also the return of G. Willow Wilson, who has been like not doing anything for a hot minute. And she should always have a book, because G. Willow Wilson is one of my favorite comic book writers. But this is basically, if you haven't been following along with Poison Ivy, that's totally fine. Here's your quick recap. After Heroes in Crisis, essentially Poison Ivy was regrown. And for a minute there, she was with Harley, and Harley was kind of trying to help her back into the world. And then Jason Woodrue was trying to take her and, like, you know, use her for all the wrong reasons. And in this book, Ivy is, you know, she's kind of figured out that, like, maybe her time on Earth is kind of coming to an end. Maybe she didn't need to come back. Maybe she doesn't need to be in this relationship and be happy and all this stuff. So she is on a cross-country road trip to bring about the destruction of humanity, because that's what they deserve.
Sweet.
According to her. And we've destroyed the Earth long enough, and now it's time for the Earth to destroy us back. And so she's just driving across the country and setting up all of our destruction. And she's like, hey, if I go down with it, you know what? I've done it. I've done everything I've needed to do. I've had my good moments. I've had my bad moments. Let's just go with it. It's G. Willow Wilson, so the entire thing is a commentary on everything in society, but at the same time, just an absolutely great story. And so I can't wait to see how this plays out. It's going to be a fantastic book. Issue 1 was a great start. If you didn't get the Warren Lau cover with Ivy looking absolutely drop dead gorgeous, sorry about your life. I'm out of it. Find it though, because it's great. We may or may not have some that are already at CGC though. It's a great book. You gotta read it. We do still have copies, like, you know, these cover A's and things like that. You just jump in. You're not gonna regret it. G. Willow Wilson telling a Poison Ivy story. This is one of those characters she definitely belongs on, because she does such a great job of giving Ivy that voice. Because an eco-warrior is not necessarily a villain, but Ivy is going to push the limits of that as much as she can.
I'm just excited that she's getting her own title.
I know!
I don't know how long it'll last, but...
It's a 6-issue miniseries.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's going to last about that long. But who knows? You know, Swamp Thing was pitched as a small miniseries, and Rambee's still going, so... True. There you go. Alright, so we got some picks of the week. There's a lot of picks of the weeks this week because the more we talked about it, the more we added on to it. So I don't even know where to start. Let's just start with this because it's so beautiful.
Yes.
Bad Kids Press, issue 2, Frankenrocker and the Jailbait Punks.
Yes, what a wonderful book. Imagine if Frankenstein's monster started a punk band to go into hiding so people didn't know that he was actually Frankenstein's monster. And somehow during...
Go ahead, keep going.
Oh.
No, I was adding up everything you were saying.
And somehow during a show, they are called upon by a race of aliens called the Greys to help them battle the reptilians, who have an obedience ray gun they can't defeat.
You can't defeat punk rock, man!
Yeah, well, yeah, that's basically the moral of this story here. So in the first issue, you're introduced to the band, and, you know, kind of all of why they are the way they are, all the reasons that all punks are the way they are. And then at the end of the issue, they are taken off, to outer space. This art, I'm just gonna say it, this art is spectacular. So in this issue, now they are tasked to fight the reptilians.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
It's so great.
It's just fantastic. They have these obedience ray guns, and they're like, oh, set it to where, I forget what they call it, but they're like, set it to where they're going to pee themselves. And the girl's like, I've done this before.
Yeah. Set it where they throw up, and they're like, dude, we're punk rock, we throw up all the time.
They're like, how are they still fighting through all of this? And they're like, we're punk rock. And then they do one where it like dumbs them down, and they're like, they're crazier when they're stupid. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh my god.
It's so great.
Yeah, this book is just, it's so wonderful. There's so many little fun tidbits. Like, it's great to look at all the panels and like all the little extra add-ons that they do, but it's so good. There's even like this little thing where, you know, they're like, oh, this isn't who we are. We're punk rockers. We're not warriors. And Frankenrocker's like, no, this is what punk is all about.
This is what punk is.
We're standing up for the people who can't, the outcasts and the losers and the people who can't fight for themselves. That's what punk rock is. This book hits everything. It gives me everything that I need.
Yeah. We talk about this a lot. It's great to see the cartoonist style coming in, that classic cartoonist style coming into play more and more. We're seeing it at pretty much every press at this point, so I can't wait to see how it's going to hit the big two at some point. It's going to be crazy. But
can you imagine this art in a big two book? No,
and I can't wait to see it because they gotta do it. They gotta keep up with everybody else. But Bad Kids Press, they've got 3 titles, and at one point or another, all 3 titles have made it into the picks of the week. So kudos, Bad Kids Press, for what you're doing. I can't wait to see more from this. This is a publisher to watch for sure.
Yes.
Because we are absolutely loving the stuff that they're doing. And this, this is like the front runner. Obviously, we're loving it. I obviously think that Stealing Oz is my front runner because it's about the Wizard of Oz. But as a whole, Frankenrocker and the Jailbait Punks, as a retailer, I can't keep this book in stock.
Yeah.
It's so good. So keep it going. This is great.
Yeah, if you're looking for something, like if you're reading Heavy Metal Drummer, you're like, that's just too crazy.
Or Rad Wraith.
Yeah, or Rad Wraith. If you're reading either of those, this is another one of those books to just throw into that pile. It's very fun to look at. There's a lot of really cool characters in there, and I'm almost sad that this is only going to be 4 issues.
Is this your favorite Universal Monster connected book?
Yes. Technically, yes. That would be this one. Yeah. Because you love Frankenstein's monster. He's so great in this book.
He's always great. Except for maybe when he's in Frankenstein.
I guess that's true.
Outside of the Frankenstein book itself, Frankenstein's monster has always been pretty great. The rest of the world uses him so wonderfully.
I guess it just took for them to put him in a cut-up jean jacket with patches all over it, so I think that's what it was for me.
Fair.
But yeah, it's such a blast to read, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, since we're going punk rock, let's just go with the Justice Warriors,
boy.
who are this is a writing team that went very punk rock. This is from Ahoy Comics. This is issue 1. This is an absurd book that comments on everything in our society. So basically, Ahoy Comics has a new book out. Because if you don't know, that is essentially what Ahoy Comics does. They take the most absurd route to tell you the most important lessons. And in Justice Warriors, we are focusing on a city that's absolutely perfect because they won't allow anybody in that doesn't fit their description. Everybody else has to live outside of their bubble. And it starts out with some police officers who are just basically taking out some people who aren't doing anything wrong necessarily, but they have determined that they are. And this is very over the top. I was like, where's this book going when I read the first couple pages? And then I was like, oh, now I get where we're going. Starts out with some police officers and goes through their story. Then it flips to the mayor, who is very upset because he only became mayor so that his record would get more listens and that he would sell more records. And I love it because the mayor's drawn with like an overly drawn nose. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and then I was telling somebody about it. I was like, oh, and then this guy, this is the mayor. And he says this and this and this. And they were like, that, no wonder the mayor's nose is big because his message is right on the nose. They were like, they drew that specifically to tell that point. I was like, absolutely. In fact, the mayor's advisor is literally a rat who has a great plan of how to sell records that I don't know. Should I go into the plan? I don't want to ruin the plan. The plan is how I've sold this comic to everybody that's come in, though.
I feel like if that's the selling point.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, it's been all about, the guy comes in and he says, the best way to sell your record is to actually print more copies of your record than you could ever possibly imagine. And then we're going to create an app that is a secondary market where you can sell all of those records back to the same people who would have actually bought them in the first place to double the sales of it and make everybody think that they need it. And then when it shows the people like trying to get it first, who's like the one lady who's like, my baby needs this record to survive. Oh my gosh. It is fantastic. This is a commentary on everything in society, but if you are a comic fan, it definitely hits close to home on a lot of things. Matt Boris, who wrote it, is one of the writers from Adult Swim. The cartoonist on it is actually a political cartoonist who has brought these characters to life. If you are a fan of political satire cartoons, you need to read this book. If you've ever read an Ahoy anything, this just falls right into your line of Ahoy books. Highly recommend for those who enjoy the Ahoy storytelling effort because this does it. Even the letter in the back that's like, this is why we made this comic, is so tongue-in-cheek. I was like reading it to Phil. I was like, look at the quotes that they chose for why they like mentioned these books, and we were like cracking up just at that. Hasn't been a person that's come in the store that I've been like, oh my god, let me tell you about this comic that I'm reading. Because this is a book that like I kept trying to read and people kept coming in, which is good. Please come in and interrupt me when I'm reading. But every time somebody would come in and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I was reading this book and this is what it's about. They're like, where's that book exactly? Like, maybe I need it. I told somebody the entire story today and they were like, I'm still going to buy it. Like, I still want my own copy. Thank you for sharing the entire story, but I still need my own copy of this. Which is why it made it into the picks of the week, because anytime you can tell somebody the entire plot, word for word almost, of a book, and they still want a copy, it deserves its spot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun
To read that one.
Let's go here, because speaking of a lot of fun, on the opposite end of the spectrum, is Twig, issue 2, from Scotty Young and his usual creative team of geniuses.
Yes, Scotty Young.
Image, yes.
Scotty Young is one of those very much like James Tynion, where I feel like slowly he's starting to show more of his abilities as a writer.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Because this is another one of those where it's just him writing. And this is the story of Twig and his adorable little sidekick Splat.
So cute.
So cute.
Where are my plushies?
Please. Look, if you want to merchandise the hell out of this book, I'll buy everything.
Everything.
Because this, to me, honestly, like, before I even tell the story, like, this reminds me of when I read Bone the first time.
Oh, yes, I can see that.
Where it's just like, there's so much that I love about this world and the building of this world, where it's like, I want to live in this forever. So this is a story of Twig, who in his society is called... Oh gosh, I forgot what he is. He has a name for what he... Like, everyone is tasked with a certain job. And his job is to basically go out and do all these adventures. And in the last part of issue 1, he is sent on his way. And from the very get-go, he's already late. He woke up late, and so he's already behind on this adventure. So the first issue is them kind of like rushing him out the door, like, go on your adventure. And he was sent out to meet the person who would tell him what his adventure was supposed to be. And so it picks up right where that leaves off. And of course, it's just a snowball effect of bad things happening. Twig is just clearly not cut out for this task at hand. But good Lord, is it adorable?
It is adorable. And at the base of all of it is the whole concept of, I want to do this, but my parents assigned me to that.
Yeah.
And Twig having to deal with but I really wanted to do this. And they're like, okay, well, that's not what you got to do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you wanted to do that. That's what you wanted to be. But you were assigned to this role. And so it's do I just fail at my task because it's not what I want to do? Do I work at the task? Like, am I still going to be good at what I want to do? And, like, do I have to do this? And so you get all of that because it's Scotty Young, and he wouldn't be Scotty Young if he didn't make some depth to the story of that personal journey along the way. Not only do you have to do the thing at hand, but you have to deal with the emotional impact of doing that thing. It's only 2 issues in, and I'm already like, why is this the best book? Yeah. Like, it is. It's adorable. It's emotional. It's fun. It's funny. It's got everything, and you get these great Peach Momoko variant covers. Yes. You get adorable Scotty Young variant covers. But I will always say Scotty Young as an artist is great, but Scotty Young as a writer is one of my top 5. Like, I fucking love Scotty Young as a writer.
Most definitely. This is one of my favorite books on the shelf, and I think a lot of it does have to do with how much I feel it resonates with me as a fan of Bone. I think this is a great book that you will enjoy and your kid will enjoy if you have a kid or a niece or nephew. Like, they're going to love this book. The dialogue between him and Splat, the little back and forth that they do are just so much fun. It's just, it has everything, and I know it's going to pull on my heartstrings.
Oh my God, yes.
But at the same time, like, I'm going to come out at the end of this being like, I want more of this forever.
And I've told all the parents, we're only 2 issues in. A lot of times Scotty Young starts with it's okay for young people, and then it gets a little more mature as it goes along. So I'm only vouching for issues 1 and 2 on whether or not it's good for kids. Right now it is great for kids.
Yes.
I don't know that it'll stay that way. You know, Middle West looks like it's good for kids, but it is entirely a mature title. I think this one is going to stay that way, but I can't guarantee that. But just the way they're drawing the characters, the way they're telling the story, it feels like it's going to stay in that vein of, like, kids can, like you said, like Bone, where there are some moments in Bone where it is intense, but it is still for children at the end of the day. Because let's make this very clear, because I did wear my Fight Evil read books yesterday. Let me make this very clear. Just because the subject matter gets intense does not mean that the book is not for children.
Correct.
Kids deal with a lot, and they are still processing and learning their own emotions, and yet they still have to deal with a lot. You know, of the 3 people in this room right now, 2 of us had to deal with divorce as children and how that impacts you. You have to deal with death. You have to deal with life. You have to deal with bullies. You have to deal with who you want to be as a child. There is a lot that children deal with. Stop assuming that children aren't mature enough to handle it, and give them books when you're not sure if they are, because books will help them find those answers and that experience and give you a way to talk to them about it. Books are the most amazing tool that we can arm our children with against the world. So don't assume that if the title does get a little like intense that it might be too much for your child. Give them a chance to actually learn something and grow with it and develop as they read, because that is what is important about reading, and reading is fundamental because knowledge is power. That's my after school special for the day.
I agree 100%. Also, make this into a video game, please.
A side-scrolling, like the Yarn one?
Yes.
Little Big Planet.
Or Little Big Planet. But
yeah.
The Yarn, what?
Isn't that the Yarn
No,
one?
there was
you're thinking of Little Nightmares.
There was
right?
No, there was an actual story that was like this a creature that was a thing of yarn, and it wasn't Little Big Planet. It was a completely different one, and it was Unraveled. The video game was called Unraveled because the yarn ant creature was like falling apart as it was going through, and just the trailer made me cry. I didn't even play the game because the trailer made me cry because it was so beautiful. But you know, if you played video games and you played Unraveled, just don't tell me if it got sadder than the trailer already was. Additional picks this week. Let's go back to Not Space Space. We've got Astronaut Down, and I know this was one that you were like, oh, this one. So I'm gonna let you talk about it.
Yeah, this is another one. Like, I get sucked into these sci-fi books pretty quickly. I always set a bit of a higher standard for sci-fi books. I don't know why, because I wouldn't consider sci-fi to be like my top genre, but I always just expect so much from them. So this is very much like Where Starships Go to Die. This is a book where Earth is pretty much almost uninhabitable, and in this one it is they refer to it as a mutation, but it's basically like if the world has been flooded by this like mutating, here it is. It looks like water, and it pretty much is, but it's like a mutated water, and so there's these barriers up around a few remaining cities, and we as people have decided that we have to send astronauts on these missions to get us out of this jam. And basically, like, these astronauts are our last chance of survival. And so this is kind of going through a few new cadets. You learn in the very beginning of this issue that the last mission failed. It kind of kicks off with that mission failing, and then runs right into, hey, these are your possible new cadets in training. And it kind of follows their story as they prepare to become astronauts.
Which is what I liked about this one, because I am a fan of character-driven stories. I think that I always say people buy people, not products. And I think that resonates highly in stories. If your story makes me care about your characters immediately, I don't care what they're doing at that point. It doesn't even matter. I just care about these characters. And they did a good job of telling me who these characters were and making me care about the characters. Like, there's the one guy that's like, you know, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get picked kind of thing. And they have the bullies come in and talk to them. And he's like, hey, we can't get in this fight because it might mess up your ability to get in. He goes, but I mean, I don't know if I'm making it in, so who cares? And he like gets into the fight, and I'm like, I know everything about that character right now from that interaction, and I love that. And I'm like, where is he going? What's going to happen to him? Like, if he doesn't make it in, like, what's his story going to be? Because you didn't put him in here for no reason. You didn't put him in there just to write him out. So who is he? Now I'm intrigued by this character, and I want to know all about all of these characters because they do have such great backstories so quickly. And I think part of it is because we do the interviews with them, so we see how they answer. And as people who have, like, I don't know about you, but as people have done, for me, as somebody who's done interviews for a lot of job candidates, I was critiquing their answers myself because they show you the question, and then they answer, and it shows you everybody's answer. And I was like, okay, if I was hiring these people, what do I think they're actually saying in the situation? Which totally was a great storytelling mechanism. I loved it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. Like, if you can give me these really great characters up front, whatever you build around them really works for me. And it's great too because, like, you're really getting invested in these characters, and all of a sudden towards the end they kind of unveil what's actually going on. I'm gonna stop there just so I don't give it away. But, like, the twist at the end of it, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this at all, and I'm now totally on board. And they do this really great thing where there's, like, throughout this book there's, like, one random panel that does not fit in with anything else, and you're like, what is this a mistake? Are they like, why is this happening? And then when you get to the end of this, you're like, oh my god, this is so great. Like,
yeah.
I love this. I feel like the only negative I have to say about this is there's a little narrative of like religion versus science in here. And that's always one of those conversations where when it happens, I'm like, I'm going to go over into this other room because I don't want to be a part of this conversation.
That's my entire life, so I love that conversation. Give me more of it.
So I'm kind of curious to see, though, how it plays out, because it definitely seems like there's this big division between the two in this story in particular.
Yeah. I'm 100% in if you want to give me a religion versus science conversation, always. That's one of my favorite things, that even like horror movies and sci-fi movies, when they bring that in, I'm automatically sold. So it sold me more. And our Aftershock ambassador, actually, shout out Peter, actually showed up today, which shows up all the time. It was just weird that today was the day that he showed up, because I had just read both of these books. And I was like, my God, like, you gave me a lot of space, not space today. Because, again, none of it's actually in space. So it's like books about space that have nothing to do with space, but also have everything to do with space. It's very confusing. But I was like, you gave me 2 books at the same time about astronauts and space, which is confusing, but both of them were good. So I was like, so my dilemma is, if somebody comes in and is like, hey, I want that new Aftershock book about space, I'm going to be like, which one?
Yeah.
And I'm going to hand them both because they both came out this week. But then at the same time, I'm going to be like, you should just take both because they're both really good. And I don't know which one you want, but you definitely want both of them because they're both really good. But this one, and I told him that, I was like, Astronaut Down is probably going to end up being a pick of the week. Yeah. I'm just going to be honest with you right now. If it was up to me, it's going to end up in there. And I'm glad you felt the same. And so Aftershock, if you're listening, it did actually, I wasn't kidding, it did actually make it in there. Which is funny because I think it actually, I had to choose between the two on which one got a spot on the wall this week for, and which one went on the Aftershock shelf. Mm-hmm. And Astronaut Down actually did end up on the wall. So it's funny that before I read them. So it's funny that ended up being the pick of the week because I did actually pick the one that ended up being the pick of the week. I feel really, really vindicated in my choices.
Well, I think between the two, I think the storytelling is a little bit better.
It's a little bit better in this one.
It feels maybe a little bit more fleshed out, like someone who put a little bit more thought process into every little piece. Whereas with Where Starships Go to Die, it was like, all right, let's take these concepts and build around them. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have to be as intense.
And Where Starships Go to Die so far has relied on archetypes in their characters, and this again built out new characters that were very relatable too. Like, I know everybody in Astronaut Down. Yeah. This is where if everybody that I know was an astronaut, I could put them into one of these characters very easily. Or if we were even in this like apocalyptic setting, I could tell you who is who in this Astronaut Down, which is what I love about it.
Also, just such a cool cover. I love that cover. But yeah, it's definitely going to be one that will be at the top of my reading pile when issue 2 comes out. Because I'm like, well, I need to see where this goes now.
Yeah. Now, Aftershock did 2 space books, and I think
2 non-space books.
Non-space space books. And they are not the only ones who did a non-space space book. DC also did it. And I told Phil, I was like, when I saw the lineup and I was like, oh, there's 2 Aftershock non-space space books, and they had to compete with this prestige format Ram B Christian Ward non-space space book that takes place in the literal same exact point. This is the other book that's about Point Nemo in the world, which is Aquaman Andromeda by Ram V and Christian Ward. This is issue 1.
What a creative team.
What a team. Can we make more books from Ram V and Christian Ward?
All of them.
All of them. Like, just do that. I'm actually sad Chad just said he had to leave not that long ago, and I'm sad that he missed us raving about Ram V. This is fantastic. Phil was like, just put it in the picks of the week. I didn't even read it. Because it's Christian Ward and Ram V. Honestly, there's a page right there. You can just start there. Pick of the week. based on this picture alone. But this is almost absolutely nothing to do with Aquaman. This is the story of where starships go to die. Honestly, this is all about a starship that is from an alien life form, essentially crashes into Point Nemo, which is, again, the entire same plot as Where Starships Go to Die. And a team of people that's actually made of all different people from all different countries are all recruited very quickly, and we find out their background stories as the story is unfolding. Again, I feel really bad for the because this is the same plot as Where Starships Go to Die. Almost exactly, except they are not just an American team. This is a team of people who are not, there is no, like, as far as the record books go, this team does not exist. And they go down in a submarine to try to find this starship. And you know, something happens. Sea creatures happen, and they're on their own. They can't resurface. They can't do anything. If they resurface, they're going to be in a ton of trouble. But it is a DC book, so we also have Aquaman, and it's Ram V, so we also have all of the emotional stuff that I keep saying, why does nobody ever put in an Aquaman book? Ram V's like, hey, here's 4 lines that tell you all of that emotional drama that Shannon's been waiting for people to put in an Aquaman book. Here it is, because I'm Ram V, and I just want to tell you this. And he does a great job of it. Aquaman shows up, and they talk about how he kind of comes to the surface like every once in a while when his brain is feeling really cloudy, and he runs into this woman who's really old, and it's like, oh, every time you come here to get your life back in order, I'm older, and she's like, this is basically the last time you're gonna see me, so let's talk. Like, let's talk about this Aquaman. This book, it's beautifully written. It's got all kinds of great stories. If we have a main character who's not Aquaman. Aquaman, not main character of this story. Aquaman just kind of happened to actually be there. I forgot it was an Aquaman story until at least almost halfway through the book. And then I was like, oh shit, Aquaman's in this book. Like, he hasn't even shown up yet. I didn't even care that Aquaman was a part of this story. Ram V wanted to tell the story, and DC was like, tell it here, so he added Aquaman to the story.
Right.
Basically, and it's fantastic. We have a girl who, her dad was super obsessed with the depths of the sea, and she went on to become a marine biologist when her dad passed away, never got to see her even graduate, and now she's working as a scientist. She's on this mission, which... You know, Ram V loves to tell you stories about what happens to kids when their parents die and they haven't fulfilled their life goals yet. This is a very big theme that Ram V has that always plays out really beautifully. And so I cannot wait. Somebody told me, somebody got this book on Wednesday, and then I saw them later in the week, and they were like, honestly, my only thing that I don't like about this book is that it's a black label book, so it's probably only going to be 3 issues, and I'm mad about it already. And I was like, you know what? I haven't even read it yet, and I'm already mad about that. Like, Christian Ward doing this. Also, all Christian Ward art should be in prestige format.
Agreed.
We're just gonna say it. I'm gonna put it out there. Like, if you want to go back, Marvel, and remake the Black Bolt book in prestige format,
please.
I will give you all of my money. And then, you know what? I don't even buy hardcovers. But if you want to make a hardcover prestige format version of the Black Bolt book, both volumes, Marvel, shut up and take my money. Please do. That was Christian Ward drawing Black Bolt is everything I need in my life. But Aquaman Andromeda would have made it in a Picks of the Week based off of Christian Ward's art in a prestige format alone. Yeah. But then you add Ram V telling a phenomenal story, and honestly and truthfully, it's such a great book. This is why Ram V needs to be nominated again next year for the Eisner, and like we talked about on our Eisner show and last week, Ram V's kind of still like that flower that's unfolding. Like, it's like, oh, it's a beautiful flower, and then it starts to like unfold into this giant massive like stargazer lily, and you're like, oh my god, that is a beautiful flower. We're still seeing that unfold before us, and it's beautiful every time. I'm just gonna tell you to take this home with you when you leave today because it's so good.
One thing I've been curious about, though, do you think at some point he will go to one of the big 2 only? Like, he will get that exclusive deal? Or
I don't know if he wants it.
His hands are in so many pots?
I don't know if he wants it. I think he's like Chip. I don't think he wants it. I think he wants to be able to play with everything that he's playing with. I think he wants to just be like, hey, this is my story to tell, and I don't want a contract with anybody. Because when you sign that exclusive, when you sign that exclusive, you can't go back to the other, and which is why Chip Zdarsky doesn't have an exclusive. And he can write both Daredevil and Batman at the same time, which I'm really curious, because Batman's about to restart with Chip Zdarsky. Well, not restart, but continue with Chip Zdarsky, and really it's a restart. Like, they're calling it a whole new thing. And then Daredevil's about to restart with Chip Zdarsky. And I don't read either title and want to read both, because I want to see somebody write Daredevil and Batman at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, that fascinates me, because you're doing a street-level dark hero who's affected by the death of their parents and, like, the way that the city itself has impacted them over time. So I'm really curious to see Chip Zdarsky write both of those characters at the same time.
Well, no. I was going to say Frank Miller.
I don't think it was at the same exact time.
But I think Batman was after Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, like, Kevin Smith has written both, I believe, but not at the same time. And that's why I'm like, this is a person who's literally going to start both at the same time.
That's interesting.
And I can't wait to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
You've got my subscription, Chip Zdarsky, you got my subscription, doesn't matter what it is either way, but you got my subscription on both titles, because I need to see how they're going to play out at the same time. It's fascinating to me. This is my character study for the year.
And now
Chip Zdarsky is my character study.
For Daredevil, is this one where you can hop in now?
Yes.
And not have to have read... I mean, I do eventually want to read...
It's a number 1.
Okay.
It's a complete number 1. Even though it's the same exact creative team, it is listed as a number 1. So I think you'll be able to jump in. I don't know. It's not out yet.
Okay.
But allegedly you're supposed to be able to jump in. That's why they're kind of rebooting it. It 100% has nothing to do with the fact that Marvel now owns Charlie Cox at all. Of course not. That they just relaunched Daredevil at number 1, even though they wanted to keep the creative team. No, nothing at all. Also, please make all things Charlie Cox Daredevil related forever. Charlie Cox, I love you. You are one of those people made in a test tube to be the character that you play.
And you've done a fantastic job.
Fantastic job.
Yeah.
Lastly, in Piss of the Week, we have DC Pride, the 2022 issue. I brought the Jen Bartel, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy. Again, we would like to point out, if Jen Bartel's never won an Eisner for Best Cover Artist, you should just give her one.
She's earned it.
She's definitely earned it. But this is... as always with these anthologies, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. The first story in it is for you Super Sense fans. It's actually Jonathan and Damian together, and they are getting ready. They are fighting a bad guy, and Jonathan is like, comes in and swoops in and is like, solves the problem and is like, I'm Superman. And Damian's like, I had that under control. Please stop messing with my stuff. And then they're supposed to be getting ready to meet Jonathan's boyfriend so they can go to the Pride Parade. And Damian's like, okay, I've got, like, all of these things. He starts naming things like smoke, like, I've got smoke bombs, I've got this, I've got that. And Jonathan's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, Pride started as a riot. And he's like, yeah, but it's a party now, Damian. Like, it's totally cool. Like, it's a parade. It's fun. It's a celebration. And Damian's like, hey, you can't be prepared enough. If somebody comes at you, Jonathan, I've got all of this. I'm ready to fight for you. Like, you're my brother. I love you. And then they show up and they're like, hey, we just have to change. And John's boyfriend is like, actually, I was kind of hoping that you would stay in your costume. And at the same time, Jonathan's been doing this narration about, like, symbols and iconography. And he's like, where I'm from, we're all from, like, a wedding ring. If you see a wedding ring on somebody, you automatically know what that means. Nobody needs to tell you what a wedding ring means. Yeah. He's like, and where I'm, where my dad's from, essentially, like, on Krypton, like, the S stands for, the House of El. And he's like, and my dad has always said that it stands for this certain thing. It stands for hope. It stands for this. And he's made it into standing for Superman. And then he says, but for me, I hope that you know that the S stands for the fact that I am like you and that you can be who you want to be, and that there's always going to be somebody who will, like, defend you and that you can go out and be that person. And his boyfriend makes him a new cape, and the inside is all rainbow colored. And he's like, I don't know if my dad would like that. And Damien's like, your dad will always just want you to be who you are. And I'm like sitting there like bawling. Like, I was like, this is freaking A, man. This is so good. And he's like, I'm going to fly this parade like as Superman, but with this cape. And I was like, oh my God, I love Jonathan so much. And I love Damien, who is a complete and total asshole, but is always there for his best friend in every way. And even like he's sitting there watching Jonathan fly through the parade. And they're like, he made a rainbow. And Damien's like, a 5-year-old could make a rainbow. But at the same time, he's like, but did anybody check the sewers to make sure they're safe? Like, he's still, like, worried that something is going to happen to Jonathan. So beautiful. You get a Nubia story. You get a new Dreamer story, which if you know the Flash show, you know Dreamer. You get a lot of incredible, wonderful stories through this book. But you and I both had a conversation about the fact that there is a story from Kevin Conroy at the end, who is the voice of Batman from Batman the Animated Series, and all things Batman. I mean, honestly, he's just the voice of Batman. I could have just stopped there. You all know Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman. And at the very back of this book, Kevin Conroy tells his story of being a gay man who was as an actor who had to hide that because he started in acting in the 70s and 80s and was not allowed to be out, even though theater has always been, you know, run by, he even says it, like gay agents and gay producers. They still don't want gay actors,
right?
And so he always had to hide who he was. And then being an actor and a gay man through the AIDS epidemic, and trying to break into Hollywood as a gay man in a time where people were terrified of the concept of the gay man, and just the struggles that he had and how he dealt with that, and how for him, you know, he went into his first Batman audition and they were like, do you think you can be a person who has to wear a mask to protect themselves? Do you think that you understand that character enough that you can do this as a voice actor? And he was like, you know, let me think about it. And then it's like, oh, that's been my whole life. Yeah. And the tragedy, I didn't know about his parents until I read this story. And just the tragedy that he dealt with his parents. I mean, he's essentially lived a very Batman life. Absolutely beautiful story. Another one that I was, you know, crying through. Kevin Conroy is going to be at Greater Austin Comic Con. I've been talking to people. You know, this is a great thing to, if you're going to get something signed by Kevin Conroy, this is his personal story turned into a comic book. Honestly, I think if you are going to meet him, you should read this, and you should, this is a thing to have him sign, because it is such a beautiful, incredible share from Kevin. And it's such a tragic and graphic story that there is actually a warning before the story. Yeah. DC included a warning that's like, hey, you know, we want to talk about Pride as a celebration, and we want to believe in, you know, the positivity and all the steps and strides that we've made, but we do need to remember that a lot of people struggled to get us to this point, and we are printing Kevin's story as it happened, and there is a lot of graphic moments, there's a lot of dark moments, there's a lot of slurs that Kevin endured. It's been a rough road for a lot of people, and while we can celebrate and we want to celebrate all of the progress we've made, we need to remember that the people who did have to endure even more hardships than we are enduring now. Right. To get there, and then to respect the people who are still enduring those hardships to this day, and to know that we're fighting together so that we can celebrate in the moments of celebration. It was really well put together. Honestly, this is one of the best put together anthologies that DC has done for Pride Month. Absolutely gorgeous storytelling, great, actually giving those moments to people to tell their real stories, and giving us those beautiful moments of those characters. This was a great, great story. Absolutely a pick of the week, a pick of the month. Happy Pride Month, everybody. And just buy this book and read it, because it's so good. And it's just a reminder that representation matters, and that you matter.
Yeah. And this book looks great, too.
It's so good. So good. I know, you're just going to read the whole thing right now while we're sitting.
Well, I was just looking at all the art. There's a lot of artists that I'm unfamiliar with. Obviously, like Zoe Thorogood's in here, but like I was kind of skimming through, and I was like, I've never seen some of these artists before, but I'm hoping that these are a lot of people that are gonna start. We're gonna start seeing more of at DC. 'Cause there's a lot of really great art in this.
A lot of great art. Again, honestly, like they do a Pride anthology every year, but this one, I think I cried through more of this one than any of them before. And then, like you said, great artists, great storytelling.
Yeah.
Thank you, DC. Thank you, DC. And I know Marvel has their Pride books coming out, their Pride covers, their Pride books, but through Marvel Voices. But it's such an important thing for the big two to make these books and say, we have all of these characters, we see you, your voice matters, you matter, and we love you. And I love to see that. Comics are for everyone. Comics include everyone. If you're not happy about it, find another medium, because comics are not going to stop telling you the stories of everybody, because everybody matters. And
good luck, because we've reached a point in this world where every medium is going to tell those stories.
Yeah, as they should.
At this point, either adapt or die.
Give it the program. Give it the program.
It's time to progress forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Happy Pride Month, by the way.
Happy Pride Month.
Yeah.
And cheers to Kevin Conroy and all of those who struggled to come out, but who paved the way for the rest of the world to be able to do that, to come more so than they were before. And to those at home who are still struggling with that, know that we see you, we love you, and we're here for you. If you need a person to talk to, Bat City is a community center that is open. Everybody matters at Bat City, and we are always here for you, and we love you. And if you need a family, we'll be your family. Come on in. We'll find you the book, and we'll find you the friend. We'll be that friend. We'll be that place. We love you. We got some books in stock. We got lots of books. Well, since we're talking about Pride Month, Nubia is Queen of the Amazons. Queen of the Amazons, Nubia, issue 1. This is all about Nubia going out into the world for the first, like the world of men, not for the first time, but taking a whole team and kind of just helping the whole world be a better place, because Nubia knows how to tell us all how to be better. Rocketeer, issue 3 from IDW. Dark Knights of Steel, issue 7 of 12, with Tom Taylor reminding us that somehow he can make anything the most amazing concept, and it is so good. Please read Dark Knights of Steel if you haven't. Frank Frazzetta's Death Dealer, issue 2 from Opus Comics. Sweet Paprika, issue 2, the most ridiculously wonderful rom-com from Mirka and Dotho with Demons and Angels. Distorted, issue 3 from Scout Comics. What if somebody was eating all of the people who have superpowers to gain their superpowers, essentially? We Live, Age of the Paladins, issue 3. This is your volume 2. If you read volume 1 of We Live and you were like, what happened at the end? How did it turn into what it is now? This is kind of the Action Comics to the Superman story of We Live. One Night in Prague, issue 2. Cats and dogs fighting. That's you wanted anthropomorphic creatures. Keenspot gave you anthropomorphic creatures.
Yeah,
you deal with it.
But not in like a Twilight sense.
You deal with it.
Although if you remade Twilight in anthropomorphic animals, I'd watch it.
And still cast Robert Pattinson, because that's how you get filled there.
Yes.
Orcs from Kaboom. This is The Curse. This is a brand new arc of Orcs, which are adorable characters. If you didn't read Orcs, come get it. They are hilariously terrible orcs who are trying their best. ETER Volume 2 from AWA Upshot. This is an anthology of stories about an ET for aliens. Or an ER for aliens. Sorry, got that backwards. Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor. If you don't know why Jane Foster is going to be Thor in the new movie, here's a great way to get connected with Jane Foster as Thor. Also deal with that, because Jane Foster is Thor. Just gonna say that right now.
Since 1974.
Since 1974 in the What If comic, where Jane Foster became Thor, and since early 2000s when Jason Aaron made her Thor. Multiversity, Teen Justice. Really excited about this book. This is kind of spinning into the Dark Crisis world. We're bringing Multiversity back. Legion of X issue 2. X-Men fans. There's so many books. I am amazed at how you keep up with all of them. Venom, issue 8, Ram v. Al Ewing. I believe this one's actually an Al Ewing story, which means it probably has to deal more with Eddie than Dylan. Thor, issue 26, with that beautiful Pride cover featuring Valkyrie. God, can't wait for that. What if we just made Jane Foster and Valkyrie get together in the next movie? Here for it. Let's make that happen.
I would be a fan of that because I love both Natalie Portman and Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson. Woo!
Tessa Thompson and anybody.
Just Tessa Thompson and myself, Tessa Thompson, and she's great. I love her. Oh my god. She is fantastic.
Huge fan of Tessa Thompson.
She is wonderful.
Yes.
So, we could just make it a story about Natalie Portman as Thor and her Valkyrie as Tessa Thompson, and we could just, that's all you need to do, Marvel.
Kick out that Hemsworth guy. No one even needs him anymore.
We don't need him anymore. We had him. He's been there for a while. You know what? Now we have Natalie Portman, and she can be with Valkyrie, and it can be wonderful. Rewriting that script right now. Star Wars issue 24, I believe. This is still part of the Crimson Reign story, and it's still done by Charles Soule. Amazing Spider-Man issue 3 from Zeb Wells. So you're flying through this. I know it's like monthly, but it still feels like it comes out every day.
Yeah.
Mighty Morphin issue 20, which is also legacy number 94. So 6 issues away from 100 for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and
charge to 100.
Charge to 100. I also pointed this out to one of our Power Ranger subscribers today that Kyle Higgins is not on Power Rangers at all anymore. Completely moved to the Radiant Black world. Issue 100, I believe, is also the end of Ryan Parrott on Power Rangers. So Ryan Parrott and Kyle Higgins will completely be off Power Rangers and on Radiant Black. So if you haven't jumped on Radiant Black yet, now's your chance. Best new series nominee, Radiant Black, yes. I should say. Marauders, issue 3, Steve Orlando is writing speaking of Pride Month, a very queer team of Marauders, led by one such Kate Pride, who is an awesome badass. We just need more. Batman 124, this is the Pride cover. This is the last Joshua Williamson issue. Issue 125 will be Chip Zdarsky, so next month is the start of our Chip Zdarsky Batman run. The Flash 782. There's some stuff going on with the Flash. The Last Bot Standing, Transformers. This is issue 2. This is the last Ronin equivalent of Transformer stories, which I just like that cover. Honestly, that's why I picked it. Dune, The Waters of Canley, issue 2. Boom is cranking out the
keep doing it, Boom, because I just started reading the first one that came out, and I'm enjoying it.
I've heard they're fantastic. The Boom Dune stories, I have people coming all the time and asking for them.
Yeah, they've been good so far.
Doctor Who Common Citizens Origins, and this is first of all, this glows in the dark, I can tell by the raisiness. This is gonna include the Weeping Angels, so sorry if you're staring at your camera to watch this, that I just put a Weeping Angel in front of your camera. My bad. Good luck. We're all with you. If you know Doctor Who, you know that you should probably just not turn your back on this show for the rest of the time. Doctor Who reference, they got it if they watch Doctor Who. Great story either way. Cyberforce is celebrating the 30th anniversary, so this is a 30th anniversary edition of Cyberforce, which a lot of people have been coming in and being like, where's your Cyberforce? Guess what, guys? It's 30 years old, and there's the anniversary issue.
And if you come in and pick this up, tell me what the original Cyberforce was about.
I guarantee you those are the people who are picking it up. And all my image guys got a copy this week. They were very excited.
I never read Cyberforce.
Ark World Volume 3 has launched. This is the story of some archaeologists uncovering some crazy stuff and making the world go sideways. Archer and Armstrong Forever issue 2. Been a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed the Free Comic Book Day teaser that led into this. So if you haven't jumped into that, that's a great way to get into it, is to pick up the Valiant Free Comic Book Day title, which we do have. Star Wars, I don't know how to say his name. It's a Wookiee.
Chrysanthemum?
It's a Wookiee.
If you watched one of the Star Wars shows, he's in that.
And I still don't know how to say his name. But this is essentially the Marvel Tales version. This is a Star Wars Tales, so this is all of his like appearances and things that you need to see. They are going to start doing Star Wars Tales, which will basically be like the Marvel Tales, where it's like classic appearances and other big things in those kinds of stories.
Okay.
All new, all different Savage Avengers issue 2 with the Jenny Frison Cloak and Daggers cover. It's in your box already. Calm down.
That's annoying though.
I know. And then Earth Prime issue 5 is the Flash issue with this Grant Gustin cover. DC, once again, reminder, if you need a replacement for all of the things going down with Ezra Miller, you do have Grant Gustin.
Dude, is that guy ever not going to be an asshole anymore?
I don't know.
Is it just like one continuous...
They need to go to therapy. They are having a lot of problems.
Oh, Lord.
And lastly, we've got Monkey Prince issue 5 in stock with this amazing Jaws homage. I love this cover. Monkey Prince has been such a fun title, but also the fact that it is a Jaws homage as we kick off summer blockbuster season was a great choice. Good job, Monkey Prince creative team. Love it. Those are some of our in-stock comics. We've also got some trades out and in stock. I don't know where I want to start. Let's just do this. Since we had some Ram V love this week, I'd like to remind you that we do have copies of The Mini Deaths of Layla Starr, Eisner nominated Best Mini-Series Mini Deaths of Layla Starr. If you haven't read it yet, do yourselves a favor. They are nominated in almost every single category for this book, so you might as well read it and figure out why. Ram says, please add the latest issue of Power Rangers and Monkey Prince in your box. It already is. I got you. Got you, buddy. The Me You Love in the Dark, since we talked about Scotty Young and how amazing he is as a writer, The Me You Love in the Dark is a great story of a woman who moves to a haunted house and falls in love with the ghost that lives inside of it. This is, as Scotty Young always does, what sounds like just a really cool premise ends up being a great commentary on some emotional development that we all need. Yes. This one is about how we deal with abusive relationships. Read it and then come talk to me about it, because I love talking to people about this book. It is phenomenal. And Jorge Corona on art is just a reminder that Jorge Corona is should be in all of the top list of best artists right now. Hotel Volume 2 already out from AWA Upshot. Super quick. That is the Axel Alonso AWA model. Is that once you're, he wants it to feel like Netflix, so you have the option of watching your episodes one-on-one, or you can immediately binge it following the release of the episodes. Awesome. That was his whole thing. $9.99 for the whole volume 2 of Hotel. Yeah. You need to read it. This is actually going to give you a little bit more of the background to a story that was and is kind of an anthology. We've got copies of Volume 1 of That Texas Blood signed by Jacob Phillips in stock. I think this might be the last signed copy we have in stock. So if you're like, oh man, I need to read That Texas Blood and I'd really love a signed copy by Jacob Phillips, well, yeah, better hurry, because this might be the last one.
Yeah. Also $9.99.
$9.99.
Yeah.
And we do have signed copies of a bunch of the issues of that and Newburn, but if you didn't read it and you want it in trade format, now's the time. We also might have 1 or 2 copies of Rockstar signed by Megan Hutchinson left. I sold one today, so I don't know how many copies we actually have left, but that is easier to replace with signed copies than Jacob Phillips, who lives in England. I cannot get Jacob here to sign more copies, but thank you, Jacob, for showing up and signing copies while you were in town. Again, get some copies of Newburn and That Texas Blood signed by Jacob while you still can. And lastly, new this week, Crossover Volume 2 is finally in trade. I get asked all the time, when is the next volume of Crossover coming out in trade? Guess what? It's here. And if you didn't read it, this is your chance. You need to pick it up. This is issues 7 through 13, so it starts with that Chip Zdarsky story that everybody was like, oh, I really love that Chip Zdarsky story of Crossover. One of my favorite issues. That not me, I'm saying this what everybody else said. I have lots of favorite issues of Crossover. Actually, a very beautiful story. But, if you haven't read it yet, this is a great time to catch up on Crossover. We have volumes 1 and 2, so you can get in. If you're a fan of comics, you have to read this. What if comic characters came over into our world and we we didn't handle it well. We trap them in a bubble. We put them in prison. We start hating against them. And one of the comic characters gets really angry and decides to go after all of the creators who tell all of the stories and starts killing them. And so comic creators are starting to die, killed off by a comic character. We are trying to figure out who it is. And we see a lot of indie comic characters specifically come into play in these stories. If you are a fan of indie comics, you are going to see some of your favorite characters of the modern time come into play in this in a very big way. Great work from Donnie Cates, Jeff Shaw, John J. Hill, and of course Steve Knuff on colors. Oh, man, what a powerhouse team.
Solid team.
Solid team.
Yeah, if you want that love letter to Image, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Donnie Cates.
Right. Image is doing this 30th anniversary thing right now, and I was like, you could have just called it crossover because that was already a love letter to Image Comics. All right, those are some trades we got in stock. We got a ton more. As always, I'd like to point out, since we talked about Ahoy, we do have all of some great Mark Russell titles like Second Coming and My Bad in stock from Ahoy. So if you need some really great Mark Russell Ahoy comics, we got some trades of those as well. Amazing stories in stock. We've got some news, mostly just, here's a couple of things that you need to know. One, Marvel Comics has their solicits. They come out monthly. But here's the thing. Marvel just sent an email last week, one of the weeks, that because they finally are getting hit with paper shortage problems again, and they're not going to cut their variants down, everything that was in the, what month are we in, June? Everything that was in the June solicit is actually probably going to be delayed. Basically, 2/3 of the catalog is on the list of things that are going to be delayed.
Oh, yikes.
Because of the printing shortages and paper shortages and supply just problems in general. So if you saw the Marvel solicits, just know that a lot of those things are going to be resolicited. I had a couple of people come in today asking for titles that they were like, oh, they're supposed to be out June 1st. And I'm like, either they are canceled or they're going to be resolicited because they didn't actually make it. Just know we are doing our best as retailers to get you your comics, and the publishers are doing their best as publishers to get them made. It's out of everybody's hands. Things are all over the place. There's times where somebody will, I have people who are like, hey, this was supposed to be on my subscription list. I didn't get it. And I'm like, that's because it's not out yet. And they're like, when is it coming out? And I'm like, when it comes out. It's got, as long as it's out by this date, that's fine for release. We don't really know. Paper shortages are a thing. Distribution channel, delays are a thing. A lot of the Something Is Killing the Children graphic short boxes were supposed to originally be out in January. They are not coming out until the end of July. And when I talked to BCW in February, they were like, they're actually here, but they're stuck on the ships, and there's not enough people to unload the ships to get them out in time. So they actually are already made, but we just can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so they resolicited them for July because they were like, who still wants them, essentially. So shortages are still a thing that's not going away. It's not going away for probably our reps, and industry experts were saying, honestly, 2023 might be worse than 2022. Because we're hitting it at the beginning right now, and it could get worse before it gets better. But just know that we don't know. But we're doing the best that we can as an industry to make sure that those titles still get to you in as timely as a manner as possible. That said, books that are allegedly coming out next week, hopefully they are. We've got Son of Kal-El issue 12, Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood issue 2, X-Men Red number 3, King Spawn 11, Iron Man 20, which we are getting closer to the wedding of Hellcat and Tony Stark, allegedly, or the proposal, or something. Yeah. This relationship is going to the next level. I think it might be just a proposal. I don't know. Something is happening between Hellcat and Tony Stark. I just love that Patsy is the only person put in Tony in his place. Batgirls issue 7, Radiant Black issue 15, Gwynverse issue 3, Jurassic League issue 2. I know you're very excited. Spider-Man 2099 Exodus issue 2. Captain America Sentinel of Liberty issue 1. This is the Steve Rogers. We already have our Sam Wilson. We have our Captain Carter. Now we're going to have Steve Rogers title as well. What If Miles Morales issue 4. Nightmare Country issue 3, which is phenomenal because we are doing issue 2 was it's been James Tynion writing it with Lissandro, who does the art on Redneck, but issue 2 had the Dreaming World done by Sorrentino. So I can't wait to see. And issue 1 had it done by Yannick Paquette. So I don't know if it's going to stay Sorrentino on issue 3, but either way, it doesn't matter. If you keep going in that capacity with the Yannick Paquette, Sorrentino, you can pick whoever. If you want to stay between those two, you want to pick one of them, doesn't matter. It's going to be amazing. Right. Grimm issue 2 coming out. Very excited about this next one. 8 Billion Genies issue 2 is out this week. Just anticipate that being in the picks of the week because that book has been great. The Tim Drake Pride issue is coming out as a Tim Drake Pride special. Cool. Slumber issue 4, Alice Ever After issue 3, Do a Power Bomb issue 1, which is yes.
Warren Johnson.
Yes, of doing a wrestling story.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
What more do you want?
I know. Nothing. New Fantastic Four is getting a Marvel Tales right before the launch of the New Fantastic Four. So I've had a lot of people, because the New Fantastic Four graphic box is out, and people are like, who are the New Fantastic Four? Guess what? You're going to get a Marvel Tales to tell you who they are.
Is it not the main?
It's not. It's not a New Fantastic Four title. It is the New Fantastic Four, which is like Wolverine and other people as the Fantastic Four. Very interesting. Town Called Terror, issue 3 coming out.
Sweet.
Very excited about that. Hulkling and Wiccan are getting a title this week. A book called Seven Sons is out. Cowboy Bebop issue 4 is out, which is a reminder if you have not donated to Lamar's GoFundMe to help him with his arm surgery, because he's Lamar, the artist, Lamar Thurin, who is the artist on Cowboy Bebop, suffered a shoulder injury and has been struggling to actually get through all of even the art on Cowboy Bebop. So he has a GoFundMe going on. If you want to donate to that, you can find that on his Instagram. Bunny Mask, the Hollow Inside issue 2 is out. It's funny how Matt was ready for that applause. A Calculated Man issue 1, also from Aftershock, is out. Art, Paul Tobin's new book, Aftershock, already good. Going to be a show on Hulu. I've got my Aftershock Ambassador exclusives ready for Wednesday, so be prepared for that. West of Sundown issue 3 is out. Undiscovered Country has a special called Destiny Man. We Ride Titans number 4 is out. Bill and Ted Roll the Dice number 1 from Opus Comics is out, which Chad said is already on his list for picks of the week. And The Ocean Will Take Us issue 3 from Aftershock, which is a great teen-centric kind of title. Devil's Highway volume 2 issue 2. Illusion Witch issue 1, which I'm very excited about, and Guilt issue 3 from Ahoy is out. This is going to be a great week for some indie comics. Very excited. There's some more great and wonderful titles, but I didn't want to get too far into them just in case some of them are delayed. I can't wait for next week's show. It's going to be good.
A lot of good stuff.
There's going to be some big announcements coming out this week from Bat City, so stay tuned to the Bat City channel for some big announcements from us. You won't want to miss those for sure. Make sure you're paying attention to our Facebook throughout this week for more on what those big announcements are going to be. Other than that, if we don't see you this week in the store, we will see you next Sunday to wind down your weekend with, Small Press Shann, Wednesday Phil. I would like to say there is possibly going to be a show very soon of just independent titles, because Phil and I have a massive stack Phil hasn't even seen of independent creators who have dropped by their books. So if you've recently dropped by your book, I have read them all. They are great. I can't wait to share them with Phil, and then Phil and I are going to share them with the world. Please keep doing that. There are so many good titles. We haven't decided if we're going to talk about it after this, whether we want to do a segment or a whole show based on all of these new books that are being dropped off from independent creators. It's a lot, and I love all of you. Please keep bringing your books in. We want to read them. Yeah. We love them. Congratulations to all of those who have books coming out. Stay tuned to hear more about that, as well as many other things from Bat City. Until we see you next week, we will hopefully see you in the shop this Wednesday for New Comic Book Day. This Wednesday, Phil, I'm Small Press Shann. Thanks for winding down your weekend. Keep reading. We love you.